Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation. We're breaking out with a new creation. It's been too long, we've got to unite now. Time and space can't keep us apart right now. Unity, yes, you better know. It's the only way to go. We stay apart, then we'll have to fall. Count on you, count on one and all. It's not for you, not for me, it's not for we. It's not for you, not for me, it's not for we. Love and respect one another. No man, that is your brother, yeah. Share the love. Peace and love. Rise and shine, this is a new day now. Positive along.
BNE Charitable Trust recently celebrated its 14th anniversary. Over the years, the trust has provided millions of dollars to improve the lives of Belizeans in various ways. We sat down with the chair of the BNE Trust, Albert Garcia, to talk about the work of the trust and how it has impacted many communities across the country. We will have that conversation after we hear from our partners who make this show possible. Shell Belize Limited, BNE Charitable Trust, the National Gas Company, and the Barry.
Somewhere in Belize, a student sits proud of his school and renovated classroom. Several miles away, a young adult feels at ease, knowing society has not forgotten her quest for higher education. In villages across Belize, children gather to use their imagination, to dare to dream, to create music, make art, play sports, and more. The entrepreneurial spirit is being ignited throughout the country, and the BNE Trust has showcased the Dare to Dream Big entrepreneurial program, igniting further at this challenging time the spirit of the nation. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has been a part of celebrating these singular achievements and are especially proud to serve as a catalyst in the changing future of Belize. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans. Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well, go Shell.
Let's be real. Forget the propaganda. Forget the hype. Forget the gimmicks. When it comes to butane, only 2 things really matter: the value you get and how long you can stretch your dollar. That's it. Butane is my business. It's how I feed my family. It's how I send my kids to school. What matters to you matters to me. With NGC, the quality of the butane is better. In fact, customers say tanks last as much as 2 weeks longer. And the cost, it's 1 cost period, whether you pick it up in the north, south, or by Belmopan. 1 supplier, 1 cost, no games. This lets me compete on a fair basis, and I can then pass on better prices to you, my customers. It's as simple as that. I am Stephen Bissett, and I deliver butane in the Belize district. NGC has been good for us in Belize. We welcome the transparency, we welcome the better product, and we welcome the fairness that now prevails.
The National Gas Company Belize Limited, fueling Belize forward.
Rise and shine, this is a new day now. Positive along.
Albert, it's a pleasure, honor, and a privilege to be talking with you as the chairman of the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust. Tell me about the trust, the original concept of creating such a trust by BNE.
Okay, Renee, to start off, the trust came about as an idea initially from the originating founders of BNE. As it stated, it's Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, and the originators were Susan Morris and also Mike Usher, a Belizean, who really had a dream to make an impact in this country, and they believed that that could be done by discovering oil and doing things differently this time, because the normal idea when you hear oil, you think about people who come in, they'll just take all the resources, take all the benefits, and the country gets nothing. So they came up or established the idea of the trust to allow Belizeans to have the same opportunity that they had, which is to, over time, attend a very special training, which is called the Educa Seminar, that Mike and Susan did attend, and what they attribute their success of finding oil for. So this idea came about probably around 2000, 2003, somewhere around there. But the trust managed to open its doors in February 25th, actually, 2008. The whole idea, the whole concept between the trust, or of the trust, was to really establish a partnership as well, because what we wanted to do was work with Belizeans. So it's a public-private partnership between Government of Belize and BNE. So we have 6 directors, 3 from the government side and 3 from BNE side, just to always keep it fair, if you'd like me to put it that way.
Okay, and I noticed that your theme, your thrust, seemed to be centered in your logo, or captured in your logo, which is unlocking potential. And that is very important, because we need to unlock the potential that is within each of us. And so how do you go about unlocking potential as far as the BNE Charitable Trust goes?
Well, we do it in a multitude of ways, I would like to say. The first one is really, first off, getting the information out there to Belizeans so that they can know that this is possible. But I would like to believe that the first step we start with is just our grant application form, because the questions asked in there, it's very detailed. It sort of forces you to think big, and to really think, how can I make this happen for myself? How can I make this happen for my community? So it starts off first off with the application form, in terms of really clearing this picture in your mind, because a lot of the times the limitation comes just from our own self. Majority of the times, I mean, you think about yourself in worse ways than everybody else does. And what we want to do at the Trust is to get people to move past that. So when we opened our doors in 2008, we started off with just the basics of what people needed in terms of some infrastructural development, especially with the schools, to help them move forward. Because what we saw was there was a lack of infrastructure, and of course government pointed this out to us. So we looked at how we could start off with the basics to get people that initial step in education to start to, I would say, unlock, but really start to just tap into their mind a bit in terms of thinking a bit different. But as we progressed, we now move into what I would say the real vision, the real idea behind the Trust is. And that's really getting people to do a couple of things. One, as we'll discuss later down the road, Dare to Dream Big, which is a program that we ran. But 2, also really look at how they can understand how to tap into that potential, how they can do it themselves. And that is done by a specialized training that the Trust does provide or offer for Belizeans, because that was the whole idea, that Mike and Susan wanted this to be offered to everyone else, to be offered to the common man down there.
How is the trust funded?
The trust is funded from BNE. So what you find is that just about 1% of the oil revenues flows directly into the trust that we manage. So everything that we do right now is basically coming from the oil. And if you want, we can call it a gift that we've been given, but a gift to really create an impact.
Now, we know that the reserves, of oil reserves, have been shrinking. How are you managing to cope with them, this shrinkage?
What we've done as a board, we've sat down and really addressed this issue. Of course, so we've made some financial decision in terms of how we can limit our expenses, but it's also looking outside as well for possible potential partners who really believe in what we're doing and how we want to move this country forward by, as you put it earlier, unlocking potential by getting people to believe that they too can do something, that they too can be or do whatever it is that they want. And this has been brought forward through different things, as you asked earlier. One of them also is we run a student loan program with the various credit unions that we've been doing for a while. And this allows people who don't normally have access to funding to go in, apply, and get access to further their education.
Do you have an idea how many Belizeans have been impacted by the BNE Natural Trust?
Over 200,000 people have been impacted by the trust since 2008.
So, Albert, over the years, BNE Trust has made quite an impact in the lives of many people in Belize through the various projects you have supported. Could you give me a quick breakdown as to some of these projects that the BNE Trust has supported and that are successful today?
Yes, we've looked at helping schools in terms of different things that they may need, be it bags, be it also furniture, which seemed to be a prevalent issue in the past. Apart from that, we've looked at social programs in terms of creating various empowerment schemes for women, be it up in the north or even down south. Also looked at helping in terms of community centers. But one of the things that I think you may like is actually some specialized training that was given for, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this, to help with the elderly. So it has been quite different aspects. Apart from that, of course, looking at trainings being done. Apart from that, we also saw some, I'm looking for the exact word, I want to say energy.
Well, yeah, training and extracting the energy from within. But training is key because when you train someone and you give them that knowledge, then they can impart that knowledge and affect the lives of many others. So you train one, you train a whole amount of people, right? By just training one person properly. Yeah. And so your investment in training, to me, is very, very important.
Thank you very much. Yes, I do believe that is key, especially looking at the impact it's made. I can reflect and think about the women who got the training and the impact now that they can make when they get home. Not only to their kids, but also to the community, because it's very community oriented is what is something we've noticed quite a bit with how these trainings and the impact it makes for everyone out there. Apart from that, we've also looked at investing some money into alternative energy when it comes to providing electricity so that others can run businesses in rural areas of the country.
As far as you know, uh, is there such a trust set up in other oil-producing countries, or is this a unique model?
To my knowledge, this is a very unique model because there is no other company, no other oil company that has done this to date. So everything that we've seen happening right now is pretty unique, and our belief is that it can be replicated. It can be a model that can be taken up by other countries and companies to really create a lasting impact in the country, because that is really what we want. When we spoke on training earlier, it's looking at that it stays with the person, especially when you get to unlock the potential within people. That creates that sustainability now because they have that. They have that, if you want to call it power, they have that impact to move and do things themselves.
Unlocking potential within, from within. I'd like for you to elaborate on that, that concept of just unlocking potential as far as the trust sees it.
How we see it is really having people, first off, understand the potential within themselves. Because that is the key thing to it. That is what makes everything easier to move forward. And what we've done, to really elaborate on this, what we've done, especially recently, is provided some training into the mind, if you want to call it that, if you want to put it in that way.
But the potential really lies within us, and that's what we need to unlock. Now, about how many lives have been affected by the BNE Trust in a positive way through some direct assistance or the other?
At this point, I'm sure over 25,000 people has been impacted by the work that we've done here in the trust, either directly or, as you put it, indirectly. I've seen a lot of it in the past, and I'm seeing even more now as we're looking at how we can continue to really tap into the potential of people, getting them to look at things in a different manner. For example, most recent, we've looked at entrepreneurship as something different. We've looked at what we would call a Dare to Dream Big program, whereby we put this out to everyone countrywide. The concept of this started, to be honest, in COVID. And it was a time when it was challenging for many people based on what happened. And what we really wanted to do with this was to get people to realize that you can really do it, that you can become innovative, you can create ways to succeed. It doesn't matter what the external circumstances. So what we did, we created the program Dare to Dream Big, whereby we wanted entrepreneurs countrywide to submit whatever ideas they had, be it an existing business or a new idea. It doesn't matter. And age doesn't play a factor. We didn't want that to be a limitation for people, because it doesn't matter how old you are. It's about your ability to dream big, and by dreaming big, that helps you to tap into or unlock that dormant potential. And so with that, we received, I believe, over 300 applications for this program.
350 applications for the Dare to Dream program.
Yep. And from that, we selected 50. And the whole idea was, with that 50, they would get the initial training, which is some business-based training to really understand the basics of business, understanding the accounting, understanding how to market your business, understanding really how to set up everything that you want to do. So that the 50 people selected were given that immediately. Now, what we wanted to do was select the best 5 and provide them with some seed capital of up to $10,000, which would go towards funding their business in whatever way they see fit to maximize that. Now, apart from that, one of the key components, and this is what we feel made this program very unique, was the training that comes along with it. Not the training when it comes to business, but the training when it comes to the mind. Because success or failure is always dictated in the mind. And what you find is that that success or failure is going to be dictated for the business owner in their mind, if they believe this business can really work or not. So we felt that that was an integral and a very important part of that. But we also wanted people who are doing this to have an aspect, to have a heart of giving back. So that was also another component of it, that we want people who are willing to give back, make an impact in the community, and so help grow our country. So since then, the program has launched. It has been a massive success. We have our 5 winners, and they are proceeding, I would say, extremely well from what we're seeing right now. Now, the next step that we're going to take with them is having them attend this training to really, as you put it, unlock their potential and help them understand the basics and the advanced areas of how your mind works. Because, Rene, as you and I know, I saw you looking at your phone earlier. You got your phone. When you get your phone, you get the instruction manual. So you know exactly how best to operate the phone. But nobody gives you an instruction manual on the mind and really how best to operate that.
How to operate your mind.
Yeah. So if you can understand that, if you can really understand what the possible limitations may be mentally, then you can overcome these things. And really, if you want to put it this way, tap into that energy within, which we believe is the most important energy of all. And from there, make that change or make that difference.
You know, when I look at competitions like this, Albert, and you know, you had 350 applicants, you said you only needed 50, but you had 350. To me, the other 300 who were not successful are also winners, because what a competition like this does is to enable you to dare to dream, in all honesty, and to come up with something that might change your life. So maybe if you did not even win the competition, you have searched yourself from within and come up with an idea that maybe down the road, and if you believe in yourself, you can maybe almost implement on your own. So it really affected those entire 350 people, even though it was you only were looking for 50. So I think it's a program that should be applauded and should be continued.
Yes, we definitely look at to continue. This was just a pilot. So we're looking at continuing this as we go forward. And you're rightly so, as you stated, all of those people who applied tapped into some potential in themselves to come up with this idea or have this existing idea and look at how we can grow this and make it better. So by that right, immediately they won something. They won themselves. And those who got in at 50, from what I saw with them, the growth from the beginning to end was exceptional. People who thought certain things were limitations no longer think in that same line. They realize that I can do this, that this thing is possible, that the only limitation really and truly is yourself and your mindset. And the minute you can move past that, that changes everything.
It's all in the mind. It starts and it ends in the mind.
Yes, sir.
Life follows thought.
Rightly so, and that's a discussion that yourself and I would have from time to time that I would love for people to really grasp and understand, because your life does follow the way you think. And all that's really required is a change in your thought process. Now, I know that might sound simple, and some people might say it's not that simple. Maybe it isn't, but if you take one step at a time, it can be. And if you're uncertain, you can always reach out to someone that would trust, myself, and we'd be happy to really help and share steps with you that you can take to improve.
You mentioned of the 350 applicants, the five were selected to receive seed capital from BNE Charitable Trust. Is there a follow-up process that is done to make sure that the monies are applied to where it is intended to go?
Yes, there is a continuous follow-up process, not only by the BNE Trust staff, but also by BICELR, which is Belize Institute for Service Excellence. So they work and we work still with these five people to see how they're progressing, if they need help in any areas, and then also how or what support can be provided to them if needs be. There's also a requirement of them, of course, submitting their financials on a weekly or monthly basis in terms of how the money is being spent, so that we sure that it's being allocated to the right things to help their business grow. Separate from that, I personally meet with them. Well, of course, due to COVID, we do this online. I meet with them and we sit down and discuss how they can expand the visionary capacity of what they want and get them some training before the actual training. So the follow-up process is, I would say, quite intensive in terms of what we're doing, but the focus of it is to really help bring out the best, or as you put it, unlock their potential some more.
For BNE Trust, unlocking potential. Right, that's for sure. What's in the future for the BNE Trust?
What we're looking at with the trust is continued growth for ourselves, the possibility of key partnerships to create. I want to see an even bigger impact in Belize. That's what we would love to see at the end of the day. At the BNE Trust, we believe that Belize is a very special place. We believe that we can be a beacon for other countries to show what's possible, and that this can be replicated, because the way we are as a people, and this is a discussion I've had with many people abroad, and it's something I think we may take for granted, is that we're very friendly people, we're very happy people in comparison to other parts of the world. And I believe that, along with us aiding as best as possible to tap in their potential, can help to showcase what talent we have, what we can do, and how, by coming together, we can move this country forward into next year, into the following year, moving out of the pandemic, There is so much that is possible, and based on your show and based on what we've seen with specifically the Dare to Dream Big program, is that when you expand your mindset, that changes everything. It changes how you grow. And I know with the Belize Watch show right now, it's showing people what is possible. It's showing that you can do this too. It's not limited to one person or two people, or I know sometimes they say the special people. No, everyone can do the same thing. And I believe what we at the Trust want is for people to see that. And what this show is doing is helping you guys to see that it can be done. You can do the same thing. And if you're uncertain of the steps, I mean, you could always ask. You could ask the people who's been interviewed on the shows. You could ask Rene. I have no problem answering any questions if you'd like to ask me. But what we really want to see is forward progression. One, key partnerships and continued impact for the people of Belize.
When we come back, we will speak with representatives of two organizations that have benefited from the BNE Charitable Trust.
Somewhere in Belize, a student sits proud of his school and renovated classroom. Several miles away, a young adult feels at ease, knowing society has not forgotten her quest for higher education. In villages across Belize, children gather to use their imagination, to dare to dream, to create music, make art, play sports, and more. The entrepreneurial spirit is being ignited throughout the country, and the BNE Trust has showcased the Dare to Dream Big entrepreneurial program, igniting further at this challenging time the spirit of the nation. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has been a part of celebrating these singular achievements and are especially proud to serve as a catalyst in the changing future of Belize. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans. Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well. Go Shell.
Let's be real. Forget the propaganda. Forget the hype. Forget the gimmicks. When it comes to butane, only 2 things really matter: the value you get and how long you can stretch your dollar. That's it. Butane is my business. It's how I feed my family. It's how I send my kids to school. What matters to you matters to me. With NGC, the quality of the butane is better. In fact, customers say tanks last as much as 2 weeks longer. And the cost, it's 1 cost period, whether you pick it up in the north, south, or by Belmopan. 1 supplier, 1 cost, no games. This lets me compete on a fair basis, and I can then pass on better prices to you, my customers. It's as simple as that. I am Steven Bissett, and I deliver butane in the Belize district. NGC has been good for us in Belize. We welcome the transparency, we welcome the better product, and we welcome the fairness that now prevails.
The National Gas Company Belize Limited, fueling Belize forward.
Rise and shine, this is a new day now. Positive along.
Ms. Christine Smith, Executive Director of Restore Belize. Ms. Christine, could you kindly give an overview of the activities carried out by Restore Belize at this point in time?
Okay, Restore Belize has 2 programs. We have the I Am Belize Scholarship Program, and we have the Trauma-Informed Practices in School. The I Am Belize Scholarship Program is made possible through the kind donation of corporate sponsors as well as private citizens. It allows students to access high school education who normally would not be able to do so because their parents can't afford the cost of education. The scholarship provides tuition, uniform, books. It's a wraparound service because it also offers tutoring. If the student needs access to counseling services, those are offered as well. The student is brought in as part of a support group, the I Am Belize Scholarship Club. And as part of the club, they do different activities to capacity building in terms of interpersonal development, some basic training, linking them with organizations who can help them so that at the end of their 4 year of being on the program, they have acquired skills necessary to make them employable. Because we know that for a lot of students, high school education is terminal. They at the end of high school they look for jobs, and based on whether they are able to access jobs, they might continue with their formal education. So we need to put them in a position where at the end of being on the program, they have acquired not only a high school diploma, but skills that help them to be more employable.
Okay, the BNE Trust has assisted Restore Belize with some funding. Could you talk to me about that? How did that come about?
Okay, BNE came on board in 2012 as a sponsor, as a corporate sponsor. And so far, they have provided scholarship to 85 Belizean students. 55 of those students have completed their high school diploma. And presently, for this school year, we have 17 students being sponsored by Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust. So their funds have afforded the students, as I mentioned before, tuition, books, and all the wraparound services that might be needed to make sure that education is successful. Because of the challenges that came about in terms of COVID, what the trust and the funds from the trust has been also able to provide to students is access to devices, whether those be tablets or laptop computers, as well as access to internet services where the student might not have that at home. So the funds from the trust has allowed students to really focus on education itself, being in school and doing the work, and not have to worry about how will I continue to pay bills and make sure that I have the additional help I need.
Now, after these students graduate, is there a follow-up program that you do with them to see that if they are gainfully employed, or where do they go from after graduation?
Yes, we have started to track them and look at where, for instance, last year we had 5 students graduating, and we know that of the 5, 3 of them are presently working. 2 of them want to continue with tertiary education, but because of their age, they're 16, they're not able to access full employment as yet. So they're waiting to see how they can get employed and then pay for their own education as they go forward.
So how would you describe your relationship with the BNE Trust?
It has been a very fruitful relationship. It is one where the organization has benefited greatly, not only in terms of receiving the funds, but in that the trust has continued to be a donor for the last 10 years, which means that they have been able to extend the reach of the organization to ensure that more kids, more young people have access to education and be able to move and change the dynamics of their lives.
What are some of the areas you think that the BNE Trust can expand its services into as it concerns our young people?
Well, I think they're doing through one of the most important aspects. Education is really what will change the dynamics of a lot of our young people's life. Because as much as we want to say education is free, it's not. The hidden cost of education is something that a lot of parents can't take up. And when organizations and donors and like BNECT come on board and provide opportunities, then it means that those kids will have the opportunity. Now, because what BNECT is doing is, and a lot of our donors is different from what normally happens in terms of scholarship. The I Am Belize Scholarship Program is not a merit-based program. It is a program based on need. So it's a program based on a child who has the desire and the aptitude for but cannot afford. And those are the young people that we need to focus on, because those are the ones who will drop through the crack. So I think BNET is doing an admirable job. I will, of course, plug in and say that we would hope that for the next for the next year, maybe they can increase their donation. If not, then we understand, because these are trying times. But the more students we can bring on board on the program and walk along with them through their high school education, the greater the probability of them actually completing. And we want to thank the Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust for their commitment over the last 10 years, and we look forward to continued partnership with them.
Mr. Raymond Zoul, who is the general manager of St. Martin's Credit Union in beautiful San Ignacio. I have to say beautiful San Ignacio because San Ignacio, Santa Elena are twin tongues and they're both beautiful. So, the Macal River separates San Ignacio and Santa Elena. And man, it's always nice to be here. And it's good for you to receive me here in your credit union. Let's start off by asking, first of all, what is the history of your credit union, the St. Martin's Credit Union? How did it start?
Well, St. Martin's Credit Union actually started in 1949. Actually, it shares history with the icon of the town, the Hawksworth Bridge. It was the same year that that bridge was inaugurated, and so I always tell people that it's two big things that occurred in San Ignacio that year, and so we started in 1949 with a few ladies with a few cents. They started it off. And from there, the father Zimmerman took it over and started to develop it. We used to work from their homes, and then they eventually bought a small little building, and they further developed the credit union. And from there, we've been growing. We have over 70 something years now in existence, and we went from that small little credit union to a membership of over 10,000 with assets of over $32 million, right? And so we serve the community of San Ignacio, Santa Elena, but we also do service to all of the rural communities around the area. And so we take our financial services to the villages such as San Antonio, Cristo Rey, Billy White, Santa Familia, Docron, San Jose Socot, and so forth. And so we provide financial service to all of those communities. And so, and then about 3 years ago, the board decided to expand further with the demise of Mount Carmel Credit Union in Benque Viejo. And so we opened our branch 3 years ago in Benque Viejo, and that branch has been providing service to the community in that area. And it has been very successful. We anticipated that the branch would have break even in 3 years, and that actually occurred after 1 year of providing services. So it was a big relief for us that the folks welcomed us, looked at us differently from Mount Carmel, because the repercussions of how Mount Carmel ended. And so it was welcoming to see that the community opened their arms and saw the seriousness to which we were taking financial services to them, and they welcomed us into their community. And so the next plan we're looking at is expanding even in other areas where we have, like in the Spanish Lookout areas, and is a section where we're looking at, because we have a lot of rural community people that go to Spanish Lookout and do their shopping. And so that's one of our focus that we're looking at.
What are some of the factors that have contributed to your tremendous growth?
I think it has been the steadiness, the seriousness with which we have done business. Building that trust is important, because I think before, people never saw credit union as something trustworthy, as an institution trustworthy. They always had this fear because of the unknown. And I think what we have been able to develop with the league, the Belize Credit Union League, is provide more knowledge and awareness about credit unions. And so that has allowed people to be more familiar with what we do, who we are, and importantly that we are community focused. We are something like a bank, but not for profit. And so the services we provide are far more reasonable, and it benefits directly the members who happen to be owners, co-owners, right?
Now, looking at your relationship with the BNE Charitable Trust, how did that start?
Um, our relationship goes back far to the days when we had a pilot project with Sacred Heart Junior College. And so at that time, one of the directors happened to be the dean of the junior college. And so in discussion with the institution, we were looking at ways of how to provide financing to studies to help young persons to be able to go to college, right, to junior college. And so we came up with this concept of financing the tuition and fees and books for students specifically at the junior college. And the idea that we had was that we would maintain a minimum payment throughout the course of the study, even though the student may add additional amounts onto the loan, but we keep it at an amount that they can afford. So even if they work on a part-time basis, maybe a couple hours per week, generating very minimal income, they would be able to pay for the loan, right? And so instead of sitting and waiting for your mom and your dad to help you, you could help yourself. And we encourage the young persons to also save, because one of the trademarks of our product is that we emphasize saving. So every loan we give out comes with a mandatory saving component. So by the time you pay off your loan, you already have a little savings built for yourself. And so that was the concept back then. And then eventually the director moved to BNE, and they engaged us to look at what the trust could do in terms of helping young folks to get an education. And so they decided to move over. They decided to implement this student loan program, and so we were one of the first ones that were signed up under the trust. And we've been doing that program ever since. So we have, I don't even remember how many years we have now, but quite a number of years. And it has gradually expanded, because first it would have covered only tuition and fees. But now we include that you can buy your books, you can include boarding, lodging, transportation, and also whatever accessories you might need, like computer, laptops, and stuff like that, right?
Well, then you mentioned about the importance of savings, that it's not just about borrowing. How would you go about encouraging a student who perhaps is barely making it, and so to not only pay back his loan but also to save? What's the bridge that you use to reach it?
Well, one of the key things I think has to do with education, right? When people hear savings, many times we imagine, oh, I don't have enough to save. And so in our minds, we build up this concept that saving means a lot of money, that I need to have $100 to save. That's not true. You can save $5, you can save $10, and over time that builds up. And so that is how we encourage them, that you don't need to start large. Put a goal that is reachable for you, even if that goal is only $5. And we see that you are consistent and that you save the $5 every month, that works in your benefit because it gives you a good savings history. So when you apply for a loan now, we look at that savings history, and that is a plus for you. And so it helps to build your character in terms of savings, right?
Now, the student that is applying for a loan through the BNE Trust, is there a different process than if they were applying for a loan directly from the credit union?
Uh, there is, not necessarily, but there are some conditions that are different, right? For example, under the trust, you need to maintain a minimum GPA. And so that is 2.5, if I'm not mistaken, that you need to maintain. Under the regular program, if you don't maintain that and you get below, then we would still finance you once you pay. One of the benefits of the program, though, is that it allows you to extend the term further. So while a regular educational loan would only allow you maybe to pay over a 24-month period or a 36-month period, the BNE loan allows you to go all the way to 6, sometimes up to 10 years during the time you're studying. And so you get to have a longer term and a smaller repayment. And that is maintained throughout the term, the time you're studying. And then when you're finished, then you get to restructure that loan to an amount that you can afford to pay once you start employment, right?
The BNE facility, is it just for student loans, or do you offer facilities for entrepreneurship?
It's only focused for student loans for educational purposes. Now we happen to have a program focused for entrepreneurs, which is, but that is a joint venture with the town council, the San Ignacio Santa Elena Town Council. It's called the Fireball Business Loan, and it's a more for micro enterprise, where you can borrow up to $5,000 to either start a little business or develop a business that is already existing. And we work with you throughout that process, and that's a joint venture with the town council.
How would you summarize then your relationship with the BNE Trust? How has it been? Has it been a very, very solid and straightforward relationship?
I think over the years we've had a very good relationship with them. They have always been interested in understanding and looking at how the funds could be utilized to help young persons get an education and improve themselves. And I think the numbers speak for themselves. We have very minimal delinquency when it comes to student loans, but most of them, if they fall delinquent, they would recover, right? And so there's very few instances where we would have to write off a loan because of bad debt. And so I think that says something for the program itself. In terms of the relationship with BNE, they have always been open and receptive to looking at ways of how we can engage and attract more young persons. And so they've always invited us for different activities to participate with them in promoting the program. And we also do the promotion on our own as well. So we've had a very good relationship.
Are there other areas of cooperation that you'd like to see this go?
In terms of the
BNE.
the trust, well, I was fortunate to be a part of, they had just recently a competition where they looked at entrepreneurs and funding them. I don't quite remember the exact name of the program, but they were able to.
Dare to Dream.
Yes, Dare to Dream. And they had some very, very interesting proposals. And I think something of that nature would definitely, if it could be developed further, and look at other ways how you can filter out the people participating. Because one of the challenges we had there was we had to look at 20 candidates in a span of like 2 hours. And so for me to sit down and analyze a project that you are proposing in 5-10 minutes, it's challenging, it's challenging because I would do a disservice to you if I don't point out things or certain things that you could probably enhance to make your proposal a better proposal. And so I think there's a lot of potential for that. Our country has a significant amount of young persons. If I may share with you, a couple years ago, about 5 years or more, 10 years ago, we were part of the Belize Rural Finance Program. And that program looked at taking the local economic development project, part of the town council. And one of the things that came out of that project was a survey of the economic environment of the Kaya district. And the data was very, very interesting. We found out that over 75% of our population in this area, San Ignacio Santa Elena, was 35 years or younger. And 52% was actually 25 years and younger. So you have to look at how can, for example, us as a credit union, how can we provide services to a demographics that is so young? Because somebody who walks through the credit union's door will more than likely not have a lot of employment history, have very little, if any, credit history and savings history.
And looking for a break in life.
Right. So how do you bank them? How do you help them to realize that dream? Because the average age is 25. And so that was one of our challenges. So we had to rethink how we would develop our product, how our product could meet those needs. And BNE student loan program is one of those things that sought to address that discrepancy or that challenge in the community. And so we have a very young population, and so we need, government can't employ all of them. The private sector may not be able to provide employment for all, so they need to be able to develop business for themselves, and one of the things requiring change is the mentality that if you want a business, you have to be able to fight for that business, because it's not every day that will be rosy. But unfortunately, sometimes we get bored with it. After 2 days, they're like, it's not successful, but it may be just one day that's challenging, And so programs like that, I think, help a lot, where we are able to help our young folks develop themselves.
I particularly like the Dare to Dream program because I believe that every business, every successful enterprise started with a dream. It had to start with a dream because the dreams are found inside us. And whenever we develop that dream inside us is when we may become successful.
Right.
But you have to hold on to that dream. You have to see it, feel it, smell it, sleep with it, wake up, think about it, work for it, and to make it a reality. And I think those are the values that the Dare to Dream program instill in young Belizeans would-be entrepreneurs. And I am sure that's the same value. Those are the same values that you are trying to instill in those who approach this credit union.
Yes, it is. One of the curious things, if you look at my staff, our credit union, St. Martin's, is, I would dare to say, unique. We have majority of our staff are very young people. Yeah. It comes with its sets of challenges, but our belief is that everyone starts from somewhere.
Yeah.
And so a young person not having necessarily the experience in work needs a break to be able to develop. So that is the reason why you will find, for example, we have a lot of young persons and they might be just coming out of junior college because we're giving them that break to develop themselves. We also have a very good internship program where we allow students to come in and get work experience over a couple weeks, and that is where we're adding back to the community because we're helping them to develop skills, develop themselves, add something to their resume so when they apply for a job, they have some job experience. And it's part of the community. And I think BNE values are the same, are similar to ours, that whole community focus, helping people to develop themselves, and so as one of our motto, the motto for the credit union goes, what is it? Community, locally owned, community based.
Locally owned, community based, very important.
Focused, we own it local, but we emphasize that we want to focus on the folks in the community, develop them. The biggest satisfaction we get is seeing a young person come under the program, graduate from, because now we are able to finance up to primary school. So they can begin from primary school and they migrate to junior college, to high school, junior college, and then to university. And we are able to help them through that entire process.
Do you have any idea, more or less, about how many young people this program has impacted?
I think it's probably over 1,000 over the years. Over the years, we've had probably about 1,000. Yeah, and it's a very good program, and I know they have rolled it out with other credit unions in other municipalities. But I'm proud to say that we were one of the ones that started it off, the pilot project.
Congratulations on such a successful start for a project that has proven itself all over the country.
The Dare to Dream program is helping entrepreneurs across the country to realize their dreams We will be speaking with two of the recipients of grants from the trust after we hear from our partners.
Somewhere in Belize, a student sits proud of his school and renovated classroom. Several miles away, a young adult feels at ease, knowing society has not forgotten her quest for higher education. In villages across Belize, children gather to use their imagination, to dare to dream, to create music, make art, play sports, and more. The entrepreneurial spirit is being ignited throughout the country, and the BNE Trust has showcased the Dare to Dream Big entrepreneurial program, igniting further at this challenging time the spirit of the nation. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust has been a part of celebrating these singular achievements and are especially proud to serve as a catalyst in the changing future of Belize. The Belize Natural Energy Charitable Trust, contributing to the education and empowerment of Belizeans. Shell V-Power, with 3 times more cleaning and friction-reducing molecules. Go well, go Shell.
Let's be real. Forget the propaganda. Forget the hype. Forget the gimmicks. When it comes to butane, only 2 things really matter. The value you get and how long you can stretch your dollar. That's it. Butane is my business. It's how I feed my family. It's how I send my kids to school. What matters to you matters to me. With NGC, the quality of the butane is better. In fact, customers say tanks last as much as 2 weeks longer. And the cost, it's 1 cost period, whether you pick it up in the north, south, or by Belmont Pond. 1 supplier, 1 cost, no games. This lets me compete on a fair basis, and I can then pass on better prices to you, my customers. It's as simple as that. I am Stephen Bissett, and I deliver butane in the Belize district. NGC has been good for us in Belize. We welcome the transparency, we welcome the better product, and we welcome the fairness that now prevails.
The National Gas Company Belize Limited, fueling Belize forward.
Rise and shine, this is a new day now.
We're here with Rashid Arzu, and Rashid is a recipient of the BNECT Dare to Dream program, right? And Dare to Dream. I love that program because I believe in dreams, and I know that dreams can become reality once we believe in our dreams, once we hold on to our dreams, and once we continue moving forward to our dreams. Right, Rashid? I usually coin a phrase, right? Faith, hope, and love. You know, you set your dreams in faith, right? And you keep moving towards them with hope. But the inspiration to set the dream in the first place comes out of love for what you have inside of you. That's where the key inspiration comes from. So you set your dreams in love, and you set your dream inspired by love, set them in faith, and you keep moving towards them with hope. Right? So faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love because it starts with love. Right? Your love. So what does Rashid love?
I would say my first love would be media, and that's what the company is founded on, media. And so I have a love for photography, videography, logo design, and just creating the stories for people, but through media. And so that's a start of what I love.
How old were you when you realized that this is what you wanted, Rashid?
I would say from the age of 18. And so when we would go on trips, thanks to volleyball and thankful to Christ that we were able to do it, when I would go to Honduras and Nicaragua, I would have my phone, videoing everything, taking pictures, and trying to capture the moment for people. And so from then it kind of started, and it's kind of built from there.
So you had that dream when you were 18. That means that ought to be about 7 years ago. I'm just hazarding, I guess.
Yeah, that was 10 years.
10 years ago.
10 years. I've been at this for some time. 10 years, yes sir. 10 years.
And you say you have a studio here?
Yeah, the office. Well, the way how this place is set up is built for creative people, and so there's an office downstairs. It's also a hostel. It's a cafe here and a movie theater at the top. So when I would come here, I would use the office. I would do my editing here for the films I do, the commercials I do, and so I just use the office space for that.
Films, commercials. Give me an idea of these films and commercials you're talking.
Okay, for the film, the most recent film we did, again, thankful to the creator, was for the European Union and Humana. And so what they do, they will go to rural communities and empower the youth. And as you said, give love and work with hope and just keep it steady, and keep consistent. And so I was asked, they kind of got wind of what we do at Storyteller Media. And so we were asked to cover their conference and to do their pictures and to do their video. And so we took the time out to work on the film, and that took about a month, 2 months, and so by the grace of God, it came to happen, and it was a good film. Yeah.
And you do other commercials, you say, for different people. What
Well,
some of the people you have done commercials for? Who are some?
we did, one of them would be Digicel. We did some work for Digicel. We did one for Hikiti, which is a hostel and a hotel based here in Punta Gorda. And we also did one for this place, A Piece of Ground, and we're highlighting this $100 special. And so what they would do is you get to come here for a day, you have breakfast, you got full amenities, use of the amenities, the pool table and everything for $100. And so the commercial and the script revolved around that. And so our media team came in, found the right people, and we put it together, yeah.
Family, tell me about your family.
My family, well, I was very blessed to come from a family of teachers, people who like to teach, people who like to share their knowledge, people who are filled with love, and so the head of the family would be my mother, Beatrice Arzu, who is a native from here. And so she taught for about 30 years. And so I came up around people who love helping people and teaching and giving stories. So this is something that's needed or built over time.
How did you hear about the BNECT program?
Oh, what happened?
Dare to Dream.
Dare to Dream. Mr. Garcia. He's a mentor of Albert Garcia. And also you guys had put out a commercial. Love. I put out a commercial and I saw it and I said, man, I'm at the place where the company is building or setting foundation, and this program would help us. And so I saw it on TV and I thought to just apply. And that was it.
And the application, what was entailed in the application?
You basically had to give a synopsis of your company. What do you do? Your goals, what you have accomplished so far, your personal investment, and things like that. So you had to just give a backstory of who you are.
Okay, give me that rundown now, the backstory.
Of the Storyteller Media?
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I've been doing that for 10 years. But then in 2019, I was the marketing manager at Coco King in Kikaka. And so I would see the importance of media. I would see hotels needed it, hostels needed it, people needed media to commemorate the moment. And so that was where I started Storyteller Media, which is a part of Storyteller Media.
Storyteller Media.
Yes.
Storyteller Media.
Yes.
Storyteller Media. Why Storyteller Media? Why story?
It kind of goes along with the company that we built, which is about telling stories about people. We like to highlight people. And so when it started, it was an apparel company and a music company. So Storyteller Media kind of came in to accompany the record and the apparel company to kind of give it to one unified front, no? And so that's kind of how that came. And so Storyteller Media focuses on people like yourself, Mr. Mahong, great people who do great things, and you want to somehow commemorate and create a legacy for them. So that's what we do.
Storyteller Media, telling the stories of Belize.
Of Belize, I like that. I like that. See, you put it soon. That's how it is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's
So
it.
you're telling me about how you had designed your answer to BNECT.
Yeah.
What all you had in there. Then when I asked you about the company.
The Dare to Dream program, well, basically they said you had to be willing to dedicate 2 months of your time. 2 months, you had to basically focus on this and then develop your company and learn. And for me, I wanted to learn because these guys were offering something unique, different from school or programs around. I wanted to see what the company would be like after the program was finished. And so I made that leap and I wanted to grow. So I took the opportunity.
So how would you describe overall the input or what BNE Trust has brought out in you by making you a part of the BNECT.
Well, I would say they basically focus on the person and your dreams and then and your plans as an entrepreneur, as an entity, and then they come in and they give you the tools needed to 10x your company, to maximize yourself, and to basically take whatever idea you had, which was maybe in a micro state, and they come and they put it to the macro. They make it bigger, they make it better with the program, and because in that 2 months, the training would be 3 hours every Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes 6 hours, and so you had to dedicate that time and remain focused and say, you know what, regardless of what happens, I will stay the course and I will do my best.
So it was not just I submitted a project
No.
to and they liked the project and they give me this award. You have to get training as to how
Yes.
to fulfill your dream.
Yes, sir. That's what one of the things we had to do was the statement of cash flows was one of the
Yeah.
things you had to learn as to how to set up your company and its future earnings, no? Through the use of a spreadsheet. That was one of the programs you had to learn how to make your own commercial, how to engage people, and how to basically chart your course as a business, where you're going in the next 5 years. So that was what we had to do.
Well, dreaming is something that we all do. At least I dream a lot. Now, what's the next dream for you? Where is this company going now?
Well, we plan to release our next documentary, which is for Keith Jones, and that is supposed to come out within the next few days. And so the documentary is based on Keith and his journey from moving from Hattieville to Belmopan, and how he grew, the people he came in contact with, the people who influenced him, like Mr. Mahong influences PG, you influence Belize. Our guy here influences everyone at media. So the story is about influencing people and giving them inspiration to say, you know what, if you dream and work hard, you can do anything. So that's it.
So you are now that beacon of inspiration
Yeah,
to
hoping to do
others.
that.
To others.
Yes, sir.
Talk to other young people like yourself then, directly to them.
I would say, man, first and foremost, you must give thanks to the Creator for where you are and what you can accomplish, and you must give or pay homage to the people. You know, Mr. Mahong, Mr. Whenever here, to led the path before you, and you must study what they do, because in order to become great, you must study those who are great. You know, and so that is my advice. You have to study the people who have done it before you and learn and be willing to listen. You know, that's it.
I want to thank you for talking with me, and I want to wish you all the best. Congratulations on the work you're doing with your company. I like the fact that you're a dreamer, but like we said at the beginning, you can dream the biggest dreams, but if you don't have faith in what you're dreaming, then it doesn't work out, right? And what you dream comes from what's inside of you, which is the love that you have, but you have to keep the hope going that you will get to the dreams and achieve the goals that are consistent with that dream.
100%. Thank you so much for the advice and you guys coming out and willing to give words of inspiration to continue now. And I hope we can continue to network and hopefully we can work together in the near future. No?
Okay. I'd like to wish you all the best. I'm here with Hewitt Saul. And Hewitt, I understand you are an inventor. Do I call you an inventor? Is that a good name to call you?
In a way, yes.
Because you have come up with your own formula and your own way of making a sunscreen. What do you call it? A sunscreen?
Yes, sir. Coral Safe sunscreen.
And tell me, who is Miss Saul? Where you? Tell me about you. Let's say about you first.
Well, I was born in Trinidad, but I moved to Belize when I was 3, and I've been here ever since. I am an entrepreneur. I call myself a social entrepreneur, and I'm also an adjunct lecturer at the University of Belize.
Now, how old were you when you felt that call inside you to become an entrepreneur? Because that's the part of your life you're looking at, the entrepreneurial spirit that you have. How old were you when you first discovered that spirit?
I think I may have been about 5. In primary school, we had meal tickets. So I used to kind of sell use of my meal ticket for a little bit extra. So if they wanted maybe a chips, they would pay me back the 25 cents and 5 cents extra.
Okay, so you started that from 5 years old in school. But did you have a dream then as to what all this would lead you to?
Not at all. I actually wanted to go into science at first, and I used to picture maybe creating something to help people, but I was thinking medicine. I wasn't thinking sunscreen, but close enough.
And did you study medicine?
Oh, no, not at all. I studied economics for my undergrad, and I have a master's in business administration.
And when did you find out that the sunscreen would have been the product of your entrepreneurial aspirations?
In 2017, actually, years before that, I went on a trip to Mexico and we went snorkeling. And it was very depressing for me. All of the corals were white, and there was one lonely nurse shark floating, no fish, no polyps, nothing. And after that, I came across a documentary that said that sunscreen plays a role because of the chemicals that are in sunscreen. There are many, but I focused in on one, oxybenzone, and later on I noticed that basically all the chemicals used in sunscreen have a negative effect on coral polyps and fish, male fish.
So basically, when we are jumping in the sea with sunscreen all over our bodies, we are in fact endangering the marine species that are around them without even realizing that's what we're doing. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Specifically, male coral polyps and male fish, they're unable to reproduce when they get in contact with these chemicals. So the polyps leave the coral reef, and the male fish, they can't reproduce.
So I take it that when you found that out, you decided to do something about it, where the sunscreen is concerned?
Not immediately. I actually visited a cousin in my last year of my undergrad degree. I visited a cousin in Tobago who told me a story about a gentleman she felt got hustled by some Rasta men on the beach because he got a massage in the morning with aloe vera, and he was protected all day from the sun, and that's when the light bulb came out. And when I came home, I started to multiply my mother's aloe vera crops, so now I have hundreds ready to be transplanted.
But before that, did you know anything about aloe vera? Had you ever heard about aloe vera before you heard that story in Tobago?
Yes, I'm very familiar with the plant. I think we always had it growing up somewhere around. Maybe we used to eat it, or I knew it was good for your hair, but I never really knew about that power it could have to act like a sunscreen, a natural sunscreen.
And so you came up with your own blend. How did you come about? I know this have cod-liver oil too. You tell me about the blend. I'm looking at the active ingredients, but you tell me.
Well, it was trial and error really for years, and some spoiled on me. I was embarrassed a couple times. I wanted people to try, but it was a little rancid. But each ingredient, it has a purpose and a reason. Like the cod liver oil, for example, I have eczema, so I included that so it could help with those types of skin disorders.
I see you got aloe barbadensis leaf, tocopherol, zinc oxide, inactive ingredients, fermented cod liver oil, isopropyl alcohol, magnesium chloride, brine, mentha. So you, how long did it take you to come up with something that actually worked the way you wanted it to?
I would say between 2017 and maybe 2020, I had a stable, by 2020 I had something stable that lasted my test, because I also did a diploma for skincare. So I learned a strategy to ensure that it has a long shelf life and it passed all the tests.
No, in those 3 years, were there times you felt like giving up, or you kept going at it?
I definitely wanted to give up. No, I always felt that kind of whisper in my ear, what about the corals? What about, and also maybe wanting to create a more healthy, inclusive type of organization to maybe be an example was also very important to me, a socially conscious, woman-driven business.
Now, when you got it right after 3 years, describe that feeling for me, because I am an entrepreneur myself, and I know how it feels when you, as an entrepreneur, you say, man, this will work, and you see it working. What was your feeling like?
I couldn't believe it. I said, okay, let me just do this diploma in skincare to make sure that it actually, that my feelings was right, that it actually is ready for the market. So I tested the pH level. It's gone through heat and light testing, exposure testing, and I'm confident it's ready for public consumption.
So where did all this testing take place?
Well, it was a focus every chance I got during my master's in business administration. So if I did a marketing course, I focused on it. And my thesis is actually partially, it's a blend between this product and its impact on the economy. If we were to implement an import substitution kind of policy, where we ban anything that's harmful and that would encourage local production.
Now, how has it been going for you then since you came up with the Barrier Coral Safe Sunscreen? Broad spectrum, what do you mean by broad spectrum?
Broad spectrum means that it has UVA and UVB protection. So it protects the upper layer and the lower layer of your skin.
You designed your logo yourself, or?
Yes, I did. I designed everything myself.
Nice, nice. And the bottles, you came up with the type of bottles you wanted to put it in?
Yes, I did. It's a very light kind of liquidy formula, so I imagine people spraying it on and on the beach and so on.
Okay. So look at this, it's a spray.
Yes.
Yeah. And you have different sizes, or I see another size here. You have different sizes?
Currently, I am selling the 8 ounce, but I made the 1 ounce sample for reasons like this, so that maybe you can go home, try it out, like it, and contact me.
Okay. So, and how did you get in touch with the BNE Trust? How did you learn about the BNE Trust?
I believe it was Facebook, actually. I believe just saw an advertisement for a grant. And at the time, I think the Small Business Development Center was pushing it very heavily. And that's how I found out about it. So I registered and I stuck with the program, and I won.
You won. Yeah. What did you win exactly, and how did you use it?
I won a grant. So currently, the funds are being used to develop a piece of land nearby so that I can put my crops, take them out of these recycled paint cans and put them into the ground so they can really develop into their true size.
You grow all the aloe vera that you produce here at home?
Yes, I do. Yes, I
In
do.
your backyard, right here?
I would call it the side yard, but yes.
Yeah. But it's all grown here. You don't have people growing for you and selling to you.
Oh no, everything's organically grown, no pesticides, no insecticides. If I have any problems with pests, I use good old soap and water. No chemicals ever.
Okay. And what has been the public response to your product?
Very slow for now, but I'm hoping it picks up.
And how can we get this product?
Well, you can contact me. My email address is the first thing that pops into my head. It would be ash.limited.bz@gmail.com.
Let me see if I can repeat that. ash dot limited LTD, or just the full word limited?
The word limited.
Okay, ash dot limited at
.bz
at gmail. Okay, see, we got it. Yeah, I'm impressed really by this, and to know that it's 100% Belizean organic product. Now, if I was to ask you, do an advertisement for me on your product, how would you say it? How would you do it?
Well, I would say that it's far more healthier, and it actually lasts longer than big name brands. So you should try it out, and I'm sure you'll fall in love with it.
It's better than the big name brands. So try it out, and you will fall in love with it. You see, that's what you'll say, right?
I'm gonna clip that out. Yes, that's exactly. That's perfect.
Try it and fall in love with it. Barrier Coral Safe Sunscreen. And it's because of that experience with the coral why you decided to put the Coral Safe Sunscreen as your logo, right? As your logo.
Yes, that is why.
Barrier. Why Barrier? Because of the reef, I take it.
And because it puts a nice little protection layer over your skin and you can frolic and have fun, forget about it, instead of worrying about all of that reapplication.
I know the folks on the BNE Trust might be listening to you, so what would you like to tell them?
I would like to say thank you for the training, for the grant, and the continued guidance. They didn't abandon me after the program. We're still in contact. I still feel very much guided, and I know I have more to learn from them. This is a great program.
Well, anything else you want to tell me that I did not ask you about your product?
I would
It's
probably
your time for both, you know.
I'd probably just want to leave with the catch line: barrier protects skin and the environment.
Let me see if I could say that. Barrier protects skin and the environment. You want it like that?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for talking with me, and I want to wish you the very best with your Barrier Coral Reef, Coral Safe sunscreen. And we said, broad spectrum SPF 50. What does SPF 50 mean?
That's the amount of times you'd have to reapply. It's a whole equation really, but it's the amount of hours and the amount of the intensity of the sun that you can handle for one period of time. So that would say that you can, it should last between 9 and 2. So that's what that 50 calculates to.
9 and 2, 9 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon.
Yes, that's how I got 50.
Okay. So if I put this on at 9 o'clock in the morning, I should be safe right through until 2 o'clock.
Yes, and
Then
we
I
have
put
to.
on some more again.
Oh yes.
And you have tried it and tested it. So now you're ready to go big with it, right?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you, a young entrepreneur, a young Belizean entrepreneur. Thank you so much, and let's hope we see other people dreaming and making their dreams reality like you have done with yours. You see, it feels good in your hand, you know, for some reason. So, thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you too.
Belize Watch. Knowledge of the past, impacting the present, building the future.
For you.